What's happening, everyone? John Hendricks here, coming at you with another episode of The Drive, presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Real vodka, real juice. Refreshingly simple, tasty, and uncomplicated. Neutral is the official seltzer of The Drive and Boot Crew Media. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Week 2 is here, and we have our first injury report for the Saints. Bad news is there's 11 players on it. The good news is 10 of them were limited in practice. So let's start obviously with the big thing. Paulson Adebo not practicing again, ankle injury, saw him in the locker room afterwards. That's a tricky one, right? Look, those types of things, you want them 100% before you roll them out on the field. We've talked about that plenty on The Drive. But look, at this point, it's just one of those things where I guess you just want to make sure that it plays out okay. Again, last thing you need is for him to re-injure himself or to aggravate it. Look, I think Bradley Roby did a pretty good job last week for sure. And, Marshawn Lattimore held his own. You got talented weapons for Tampa coming in. You don't know about Chris Godwin's as far as if he's going to play or not, but they did have a resurgent Julio Jones and obviously Mike Evans. So really going to be interesting to keep an eye on this if Paulson Adebo is going to be playing. But obviously the big news of the 10 players who weren't able to practice or who were limited in practice, let's go down the list. Alvin Kamara, first of all, he was limited with a rib injury. That was something that happened on Sunday. Look, he kind of got hit on one of the second to last final drives, went out. Mark Ingram came in. He ended up going to the back of the locker room, was never seen again as far as on the field. Wasn't there for the team's final offensive possession that led to the go-ahead game-winning field goal. Was in the locker room, said he was okay. He was out there practicing. So, look, everything seems to be okay on that front. You to just trust Alvin here and trust the coaches with that. And obviously the team made a play for Latavius Murray and added him to the practice squad. Dennis Allen had obviously said, hey, look, this is a guy that we kept tabs on. He's somebody that's familiar with the system, a veteran that they trust. So they added him because, another player on there was Mark Ingram, limited with an ankle injury. He was kind of working off to the side. So a lot of people were thinking, man, this Murray thing, is that potentially something with Kamara? Maybe it's more of a move for Ingram and his potential status, but he was officially limited, working off to the side. Other one would be Jameis Winston, limited with a back injury. So with Winston, he was in the medical tent, the blue tent, a little bit on Sunday dealing with that, but obviously he came back out. He was able to play, finish the game, didn't miss any offensive snaps. Dennis Allen said that they wanted to limit him just a little bit today, but he thought he looked pretty good out there. So I don't think there's really a big cause for concern. Other ones that popped up, Alontae Taylor with a hip injury, Marcus May with an ankle. That one's a little bit more of a concern, I guess you would say. Dwayne Washington returned to practice. He was listed there with a hamstring injury. You had Landon Young also on there with a hip injury. You had Calvin Throckmorton with an illness, and then Traquan Smith in a shoulder injury, limited as well. Caught up with him in the locker room. He said he's starting to feel really good, so that's a good movement in the right direction for him. So, look, again, these things happen. You got to come off a division game. That's just what's going to happen. It takes a toll on a body, and you got to have the recovery. And another one was Cam Jordan, limited obviously with a hip injury. That's something to really pay attention to. Again, they need Cam out there. Look, and the way we talked to co-defensive coordinator and obviously defensive line coach Ryan Nielsen last week, that look, Cam's a guy who's not going to get 95% of snaps in the way he's doing things in his career, is they use a lot of rotations. I mean, those days are kind of over, but still, Cam was active last week. He was very effective in a lot of different things, but obviously the big focal point is getting the pressure on Tom Brady this week. That's going to be a huge one for this team, a huge ask, and so Cam's going to be a big part of that. We'll have to see, again, how things play out for sure, and it's just Wednesday. That's what you got to remember. Things are going to change rapidly. If guys are limited today, that means they could be good to go tomorrow. I'd be more concerned if these were just guys that were not around and just completely missing practice. So we'll have to pay close attention to it. And believe me, we will on Boot Crew Media. As always, keep tuned to here and check out all the written work I put out at saints.media. And thanks to Neutral Vodka Seltzer for producing today's show. I'm John Hendricks. This has been The Drive. Thank you so much, guys.